I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, so let's wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet. Before we go ahead and get started, we do have some serious business to attend to. We've got 3 different segments, and we can't get started until we can make sure the tubes are working, and they are. That's tremendous. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun, deep in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. And today we are talking about escalation. We have several different topics to dig into. Of course, the big news on the trial that we were covering in depth last week is the Kari Lake order. Not good news here for those of us in Arizona. Not good news for those concerned about their elections in their states and about shenanigans being pulled the next time there's a candidate that the establishment doesn't like in their locale. So today we are going to go through the judge's order. Not an extensive order, just a few pages. We're going to take a look at reaction from this guy, Stephen Richer, the Maricopa County recorder. You may remember him from the 2022 botched election in Arizona. So we'll talk about that. He is gloating all over Twitter for somebody who's supposed to be kind of a nonpartisan Republican-ish person. It's very interesting to see how excited he was that Kari Lake lost. He's like, we did a great job. See, I told you so. So we'll go through all of that. And we're not going to forget the fact that Stephen Richer and others created this pro-democracy GOP group to go and battle people like Kari Lake in particular. And so we dug that one up down from memory lane. We also are digging out the old clips from when Bill Gates, onesie-twosie Bill Gates, when he was very animated about ensuring that every signature was done appropriately. We dug that clip up back from the election. And we also, while we were there, dug up the onesie-twosie clip too, where Bill Gates embarrassed all of Arizona with his strange vernacular. So we'll get into that. Then Kari Lake held a press conference today, and she is explaining what comes next. One of the things that happens is going to be an appeal. She says that there will be documents filed in the form of an appeal. What it looks like, a little too early to tell. So we'll hear what she has to say about it. She also is reacting to the verdict and explaining her interpretation of what the judge did here. And then the big announcement from Kari Lake is that she is launching a ballot chasing operation, she says. And this is going to be something that she hopes is matching and exceeding what the Democrats are doing. And so she gives us some details on all of that. We'll take a look at what happened in Kari Lake's case here in Arizona. Then we're going to turn our attention over to some Trump updates, because if you recall, we talked about that clip from the debate where Trump was communicating about his reaction after the verdict came down, saying that he owed E. Jean Carroll, this woman here, $5 million. And we were wondering if those words were going to cause Trump a little bit more pain. Turns out they might. The docket is just overflowing. From E. Jean Carroll's lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, she is explaining that they want more money. And so we're going to read through the letter that she sent over to the judge demanding an additional damages be added to this. And we'll take a quick look at the memo as well. Then we will go through, and Donald Trump filed a lawsuit. Not Donald Trump in his personal capacity, but Trump in his media company, the technology group, Trump Media Technology Group, TMTG, I think. They filed a complaint against the Washington Post for libel and for slander in the amount requesting damages of $3.7 billion. So that is a lot of money. Indeed. And so as you can see, my friends, we've got 3 full segments to get to. And if you want to be a part of the show, we'd love to have you in our community over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com, which is where you can come and join us. We do member-only morning streams. We do after parties, and it's a lot of fun. We have an amazing community. We'd love to see you. Check us out, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We also do Saturday shows, and we have a lot of fun there. A little smaller, more intimate groups during our streams. Also, don't forget to grab the private Telegram group link if you are joining us, whether it's on Locals or on YouTube. Make sure you grab the Telegram link, which is where the after party continues when this show here ends. And because we have so many different stories to talk about, we have to be properly nutrified and fortified, and we also need to lose a little bit of those extra leftover pandemic pounds, those extras that are hanging around, And how sick are you, though, of those ads for weight loss pills and fad diets? We've all been there. We've all done that, and they just don't work. But you know what does? Eating 5 healthy servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Pretty simple. You do that, and the weight would probably just fall right off. But look, vegetables, not a fan. And fruit, who's got time to prepare that every day? Instead, let's talk about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula, very specific fruits and vegetables you won't find in any other product. Proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you burn calories faster and lose weight a healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you're going to look and feel healthier fast, but the greater proof comes at your next checkup when your doctor says, wow, you've lost weight. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. I've got a doctor's checkup coming up here soon. I wonder what he's going to say to me when I go in there. So let's get you started. Go on over to Field of Greens. And don't forget to use code Robert when you check out at fieldofgreens.com. So you can be properly fortified and nutrified with green energy, the good kind, so that you're bursting just like the vegetables out of the ground, except you'll be coming out of bed in the morning. You'll be so energetic. It's going to be amazing. Fieldofgreens.com, code Robert. All right. Well, let's get to it, my friends. We have to dig into the news of the day. The ruling in the Kari Lake case came down. Not good for those of us in Arizona or those of you around the rest of the country and the world who are concerned about election integrity. Kari Lake has been fighting this for a long time. We've covered the trial and all of the preceding trials and pretrial proceedings as well. But the opinion came down from the judge after a long 3-day trial. We are going to take a look at it in detail because the news is that Kari Lake will be appealing this, and we need to dig into the opinion to see what is appealable, what will be justified in an appellate memorandum. So we'll take a look at that before we get to Kari Lake and her reaction, where she does tell us there will be an appeal. She also introduces a new effort that is going to be spearheaded by Kari Lake and her team to help ensure this doesn't happen again. And there was a lot of gloating taking place from people like Stephen Richer, who were excited that Kari Lake lost this legal endeavor, but we're not going to forget about their role in this catastrophe of an election, even digging out the old tweets that have now been deleted, showing that Stephen Richer is a big fan of anything except Kari Lake, funding anti-America First candidates. And so we've got a lot to dig into in this segment, so let's start with the ruling from the judge. Released out of the Maricopa County Superior Court, May 22nd, 2023, from the Honorable Peter Thompson Judge out of the Southeast Facility in Maricopa County. The case is Kari Lake versus Katie Hobbs et al. And when we left off the trial, recall that the judge took this opinion under advisement. And as we dig into this, first let's zoom out a bit. And remember that this was a retrial. This was a second trial on a very, very narrow claim. Count 3. As interpreted by the Supreme Court and sent back down to the lower level court here in Arizona, the Superior Court. So this isn't a case or a trial where every single thing that we could argue was allowed. In fact, it's the opposite of that. This was a retrial on a very narrow issue. And so this is a ruling on that issue. The judge says, Kari Lake brings a claim of misconduct under Arizona law. And under the law, Kari Lake must prove by clear and convincing evidence, which is a fairly high standard, the following: misconduct on the part of election boards or any members thereof in any counties, any officer making or participating in the election. And she must prove that this misconduct affected the result of the election. And she must prove that result by a competent mathematical basis, not simply an untethered assertion of uncertainty. Now look at this language. The judge says, as narrowed by plaintiff, okay, by Kari Lake, saying that Kari Lake narrowed the claim. At argument and in her response, Kari Lake brings the claim under Reyes. So when the claim was originally brought, it was a big hula hoop that encompassed all of this stuff in here. But Kari Lake narrowed it, saying we're only arguing this portion of the claim. The judge is saying we will honor your argument, Kari. Now, Kari Lake's team doesn't agree with this. Kari Lake and her team say that's not our argument at all. We're not narrowing this voluntarily. We wanted you to consider all of this stuff and that and that. And they tried multiple times to allow argument on this outer ring. This looks like COVID, which reminds me of a Hunter Biden painting. But it's supposed to be a legal diagram, okay? The court understands this to be a purposeful concession, saying that Kari Lake agreed to this, rather than trying to cast doubt on a specific number of ballots, a Herculean evidentiary endeavor in these circumstances. Okay, she'd have to go in there and disqualify specific ballots, and that would take a lot of work. Instead, Kari Lake attempts to prove that the signature review process for Maricopa County was not conducted pursuant to the law or to the manual. More to the point, they say Kari Lake was obligated to prove that the process for submitting and processing the ballots did not occur. See, again, did not do it. To do so would prove misconduct, and whether this would require setting aside the election or a proportional reduction is unclear. In other words, we don't know what we're supposed to do if Kari Lake would have met that standard, but she didn't. In any event, crafting the remedy is unnecessary because there is no problem. This is what the judge said he was able to glean from trial. Says the evidence the court received does not support Kari Lake's remaining claim. First, Ms. Oneke's testimony makes abundantly clear that level 1 and level 2 signature review did take place in some fashion, right? And we were asking ourselves if the judge was going to care about quality or not. The judge is interpreting Kari Lake's claim to say, Your Honor, we're arguing that signature verification never took place at all. Mechanically, just didn't happen. Obviously, that was not Kari Lake's argument. And what we heard was, at trial, they rebundled it, and they said it is as though the quality control of the signature verification process was so problematic that it is as though it never happened. Yes, you had a bunch of people clicking around like maniacs. 1 second, click, approve, Hobbs. But that's not signature verification. Yes, you can technically throw a bunch of stuff in a pan and put it in the oven, but that doesn't make it dinner. Doesn't make it edible. So it is just the mechanics. It's saying quality control matters on one hand versus quality control doesn't matter on the other hand. The judge is taking, we're not talking about quality control. We don't really care what came out of the other end of the sausage factory. As long as something came out, good enough for me. She expressed concern that this review was done hastily and possibly not as thoroughly as she would have liked, but the judge says, but it was done. Good enough for us. Eat it. Mr. Meyer's testimony similarly revealed that he participated at level 1 review and the curing process. So Kari Lake's own witnesses, they said, yeah, I was there. I was working. I was signing stuff or verifying signatures and moving things through and pressing the queue and all that. I was there doing it. They came out and said it was a disaster. Didn't feel right. Didn't seem like it was appropriate. We've got a lot of experience doing this thing, and these people put their names and their reputations on the line. And they said it was a problem. But again, the judge doesn't look at that. Doesn't care about the quality of the process, just cares about the process. Was it done? Yeah. Mr. Valenzuela also testified 4 levels of signature verification took place, 2 levels of verification per se, and 2 levels of auditing. The result was the timely verification and or curing of 1.4 million voter signatures. Now, Mr. Valenzuela's testimony, continues the judge, elicited by both parties is the most helpful to the court and the most credible. He is a good witness, very good witness. This is not merely for reasons of honesty. The court makes no findings of dishonesty by any witness and commends those signature reviewers who stepped forward to critique the process as they understood it. While Mr. Oniki and Mr. Myers have ground-level experience with signature review, Mr. Valenzuela provided the court with a hands-on view based on 1,600 signatures that he personally reviewed and a broad overview of the entire process based on 33 years of experience. And we don't know how long it took him to sign or to verify those 1,600 signatures, and I'm not sure that we got a question about where he verified those signatures, whether he did it from his office or whether he did it elsewhere. But the fact is, he did. He says, yes, I did 1,600. So there could have been 0 other signatures verified in this entire election. And in my opinion, the judge would have said, well, 1,600 is enough under this standard because they just had to show something got done. Now, the political backlash, if that were the case, would be different, obviously, but you get the point. The standard doesn't care about quality. It just cares about the quantity. Was it done? Yes or no? 0 or a 1. As Valenzuela testified, the human element of signature review consisted of 153 level 1 reviewers, 43 level 2 reviewers, and 2 ongoing audits. This evidence is, in its own right, clear indicia that the comparative process was undertaken in compliance with the law, putting us outside the scope of the Arizona case called Reyes. There is clear and convincing evidence, says the judge, that the elections process did comply with the law and that there was no misconduct to support a claim. And at trial, Kari Lake in her case attempted to overcome the barriers created by the bar to her complaints about the process that could have been brought before trial, but were not. She conceded she was not challenging signature matches for any individual ballots by making a Reyes claim. Specifically, Kari Lake's response to the motion to dismiss argues. Says Maricopa violated the law and did not and could not perform signature verification given the influx of 1.3 million ballots. The complaint sufficiently alleges this process was not followed by Maricopa County, and instead of attempting to cure the ballots, they systematically pushed mismatched ballots through for tabulation without following the required procedures. Now, the way I see this written doesn't make me believe that this is the only way that Maricopa violated the statute. Yeah, they're arguing they did not and could not perform the signature verification. The judge is just reading this extremely, extremely narrowly. They did not and could not perform the signature verification. Not that they did the signature verification so poorly that it is as though it was invalid. Okay, so he's just reading their language. So he's just picking something that the lawyers wrote and he says, there you go. You narrowed your claim. Says plaintiff's evidence and arguments do not clear the bar. Plaintiff's strategy shifted shortly thereafter, right? We all noticed this. It had to shift because the judge narrowed the claim at the outset of the case. The judge said, in making sure that count 3 survived, that it was extremely narrow. They had to prove it did not happen, is what the judge said. So they had to shift their strategy to attempt to prove that the time per signature is deficient. In other words, it was done, but done so poorly as though it invalidates the entire effort. Judge says, Kari Lake argues that 274,000 signatures or so were compared in less than 2 seconds. Plaintiff then zeroes in on 70,000, the number that would be 1 second or less. Lake argues that this is so deficient for signature comparison that it amounts to no process at all, because that's what the judge made them fit into. Okay, the judge issued an advisory under advisement opinion when he was considering count 3, and he said that's the standard you have to meet. Accepting that argument would require the court to rewrite not only the EPM, but Arizona law to insert a minimum time signature for signature verification and specify variables to be considered in the process. Oh, man. So the judge doesn't want to insert himself into elections, which is nice. I wish all judges did that, and all legislatures push back when judges tried to do that. But conveniently, it only happens one direction in this country thus far. It says Kari Lake asks the court to interpret the word compare as to require the court to engage in a substantive weighing of whether the signature verification met some analytical baseline. But there's several problems with this. The judge is basically saying, look, there is no standard. I can't measure this against anything. They could pass signatures in 1/10 of a second for all I care. I've got nothing to compare it against. There's nothing in the law. It doesn't say 1 second. It doesn't say 3 seconds. It doesn't say 6 seconds. No standard appears in the plain text of the statute. No reviewer is required by statute or by the manual to spend any length of time on a signature. Second, the court takes seriously the directive of the Arizona Supreme Court to take the words as they mean them, as they're written. And so the court will not give weight to Kari Lake's definition of the word compare. It says the recorder or other official must make some determination whether the signatures are consistent. And the court finds that looking at signatures that by and large have consistent characteristics will require only a cursory examination, and thus it takes very little time. The judge says it's not even a big deal. Mr. Valenzuela testified that a level 1 signature reviewer need not even scroll to look at other writing exemplars beyond the most recent one provided if they contain consistent broad strokes. And so the question after the comparison is whether the signatures are consistent to the satisfaction of the recorder or his designee, not the satisfaction of the court. I don't care if the signatures are good or not. Not to the satisfaction of Kari Lake, not to the satisfaction of anybody else. So it would be a violation of my constitutional separation of powers after the recorder has made a comparison to insert itself into the process and reweigh whether a signature is consistent or inconsistent. The judge doesn't want to do it. It says even if the court assumes in the alternative that it must consider whether the comparison was adequate, Mr. Valenzuela, objectively speaking, provided ample evidence that a comparison between records and signatures was conducted in every instance asked to evaluate. The judge says, while Kari Lake did not demonstrate any lack of compliance, she did bring a signature verification expert who testified what he believed would be necessary if he were to do this. But there's no statutory or regulatory requirement that requires any signature to be given any level of review at any amount of time. And giving all due weight to his expertise, his analysis isn't the law, and it's not a violation of the law. And so it's a nice chart, but it's just his opinion. Instead, Mr. Valenzuela testified the final canvas was accurate, and no clear and convincing evidence, or even a preponderance of the evidence, a lower standard, contradicts him. The court, having weighed all the evidence, now enters the following findings of facts and law. Says does not find evidence of misconduct, does not find misconduct by any officer participating in the canvass, and says that there was no misconduct that affected the 2022 elections. Therefore, oh man, this totally stinks. It is ordered confirming the election of Katie Hobbs as governor pursuant to ARS the law. It is further ordered that no further matters remain pending except for costs. It is ordered in order that an expedited appeal may be taken. You are ordered to submit your filings very soon. And so that is the final opinion from the judge. Kari Lake has already said she will be appealing this, and we will get to her comments and reaction to it in a short minute. But the one reaction that really stood out to all of this was from Stephen Richer. And we heard a lot about this individual. In fact, he testified during the first trial, and he was responsible for the election day madness. This was him and Bill Onesie Twosie Gates explaining what a catastrophe this whole thing was.
Hello, Maricopa County. I'm Bill Gates, the chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors.
And I'm Stephen Richer, the Maricopa County Recorder.
Good job, Stephen.
And we're here to give you an update on how things are going so far with the election. We've already had almost 44,000 people show up this morning, check in, and be available to vote. And things
be available to vote. That's great. So they're standing around being available to vote. Are they voting?
They're going great out there, but there's one thing that we wanted to address to make people aware of today, and that has to do with our tabulators.
All right, so you remember all of that. Here's Richer now giving us an explanation.
Functions in that we would get your ballot back. Once we've signature verified it, we would send it to our central tabulators. Ballots that are in here will already be in effect signature verified, so we won't need to confirm identity, but we will central tabulate them. This is actually what the majority of Arizona counties do on election day all the time.
And just one thing to keep in mind, we have 223 vote centers across the county.
So if yours isn't working,
if there are lines at the location you're at or issues with the tabulator, if you would prefer
go somewhere
to go to another location, you can do that. Doesn't matter where you go, as long as you're a registered voter here in Maricopa County. Thanks so much, and everybody, if you haven't yet, get out and vote.
Okay, so they're making admissions. They know there's all sorts of election problems on election day, which is when Kari Lake's voters are going to go to the polls and be there in large numbers. And he just says, well, just go to a different polling place. It's just, regular old election. Look at these two smirking idiots. And so they are knowing what's happening right now. My goodness. Huge swaths of Kari Lake voters are showing up on election day, not being allowed to vote. And he just says, well, they're available to vote. That's great that they're available to vote. We have questions about the actual voting. What my issue would be was, okay, well, if we know that election day voters are going to be high population Kari Lake voters, why don't we just, let's say, how many people were disenfranchised on election day? On election day, I don't know, 10%? Okay, fine. Let's take 10% of the mail-in ballots and throw them right in the garbage and just say they don't count and see how Katie Hobbs does after that decision. If you can disenfranchise Kari Lake voters, why can't we disenfranchise Katie Hobbs voters? Seems fair, but they did it on election day and there's no recourse to do it after the mail-in ballots have already been brought in. And it's hard to prove something that never happened. It's hard to prove that the people who didn't vote would have voted because they were disenfranchised at the inception of election day. So they knew exactly what they were doing, and they're very excited about the fact that the judge came out and issued the ruling that he did. And so here is what Stephen Richer, this guy who couldn't even bother to comb his hair, put on a collared shirt when he was on trial last time, he hit Twitter about as giddy as can be. Look at this. At May 22nd, 2023 at 7:51, he says, bombshell. Like he's like giddy. Just, these people just live for this stuff. Says, bombshell. All of the bombshells were lies. Talking about Kari Lake. He's kind of trying to dunk on her here a little bit. And he runs elections in Maricopa County Recorder. This is from his personal account, so he's allowed to do that. But he's still the Maricopa County Recorder. This is who is in charge of this is who is running the last election here. And he's got a history of being somebody who doesn't like Kari Lake because we know this previously. He deleted this tweet from this pro-democracy group, GOP.com. Here we saw Meg Cunningham back before the Kari Lake election started, November 17th. County Recorder is launching a PAC to support ours running for non-federal AZ offices, quote, who acknowledge the validity of 2020 and condemn J6 as a terrible result, right? So stuff that Kari Lake was directly opposed to, both of those issues. Stephen Richer, back before the 2022 election, says, thanks to a few generous donors, this is now launching. Join me if you care about traditional Republican stuff. Except elections, fair elections. He doesn't care about that. But don't believe in conspiracies about 2020 or January 6th like it was a tourist event. Well, it wasn't actually a tourist event, but there were a lot of FBI agents there. and HSI agents there, and a lot of other people who were responsible for it, who were on the inside of an operation, just like people in Maricopa County were. So he has a history of that, and this is the pro-democracy GOP group that they did support. Let's see if this website is still alive. Yeah, here it is. So you can see, you can go right here. The Arizona election wasn't stolen from us. We Republicans simply had a presidential candidate who lost. This is his, right? This is something that he was supporting and in big favor of, and that was before the election. So if he's sitting there making decisions about how things go during the election, which way do you think he's likely to be inclined to decide? Give or take, in a decision that supports Kari Lake or in a decision that doesn't? I think we can all guess. And it's supported by his weird Twitter event last night. He said, but if you donate now, I promise I'll spend 1/10 of your donation on a completely stupid and worthless appeal. Because he does not want you looking into this anymore, undoubtedly. And he also posted this one. Kari Lake loses yet another election court case. What will it be this time? Corrupt judge? Stupid judge? The deep state? Or will it be a mature concession? Did you notice how he left off here? Partisan hack county recorder? That's not on this list. Should be on the list. I would have voted for that one. Partisan hack county recorder. Incompetent Arizona election officials. Some of those should have been on that list. Intentional disenfranchisement of Kari Lake voters by corrupt partisan hacks would have been my vote, but we didn't see any of that on there. So these people are gloating and gleeful, but Kari Lake calls them out, and we're going to get to her reaction in a minute. Before we do, Kari Lake references this person too, Bill Gates, onesie-twosie Bill Gates, who says that he cares about signature verification. In fact, that's what he ran on. This was many months ago in the aftermath of the election when the whole country was wondering what the heck we were doing here in Arizona. Bill Gates hopped on CNN and had a conversation with them explaining how important signature verification is, even though we now know huge numbers of these were done in seconds, less than a second, some of them. Big batches. For somebody who cares so much about signature verification, his performance certainly didn't look like it matched.
Well, Wolf, thanks for having me. And it's really sad to hear that we have the Republican nominee of governor here in Arizona who's talking like that.
During the election.
You know, the votes that were just released, 78,000, that doesn't happen magically. It happens because of the people behind me. All the people here in Maricopa County elections who are working so hard. They're working 14 to 18 hours.
Shout out to all of the election workers who are working hard. Several of them who testified in this trial, Bill, had a lot of criticisms for you and how you had this whole thing being run. So they're criticizing you too. Not only is the rest of Arizona, and at this time the rest of the country was, but so are the election workers.
Days, every day. We're about to go into a holiday weekend with Veterans Day, and they're going to continue to work those kind of hours on the holiday Friday, on Saturday and Sunday. And I understand that Kari Lake wants us to move quickly, and a lot of people do. But you know what's more important is that this is done accurately. That is the focus. And that, you know, like for all of these mail-in ballots, that those are signature verified. This is very important to me as an elected official, that only eligible people, only eligible votes are counted. I would think that Kari Lake would be interested in that as well.
She is.
That's something that I ran on.
She is interested in it. Yeah, she would love them to be signature verified.
On the Board of Supervisors, I support ID at the polls. And all those things, they might take a little bit more time, but it ensures that only those eligible people are voting.
Not that much more time, just a few seconds actually. 70,000 times 1 second signature verifications. Pretty fast. You can do the math on that. In fact, you can get just some mechanical object to just press yes, verified, 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 verified. So he preens to us all about how concerned he is for the election workers. And I do appreciate anybody who goes and volunteers and works for your government. I mean, God, what a thankless job it is. But that's not the problem here. Here, he is going out in front of the cameras and telling us this is all taking time because signature verification. We got the numbers. The signature verifications were essentially meaningless, and the judge doesn't even care about it. The judge didn't come out with a finding and say that signatures were verified at all. That's not what the finding was today. The finding was that they did signature verification and that there was no evidence that met the standard of other misconduct in the election. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, just means that they couldn't get across that threshold. And people like Bill Gates know that once we're past certain deadlines, once the triggers are in place and Katie Hobbs is in the governor's office, really, really hard to undo that, which is why they go out and tell CNN what they got to tell them as they just keep cramming this through. Here was another clip from onesie twosie Bill Gates.
Again, when do you anticipate the votes will be counted in total, those 400,000 plus votes?
Well, we will be going into next week. There's some onesie twosies, again, pursuant to Arizona law, but I think that we'll see the lion's share here wrap up by early next week.
Onesie twosie Bill Gates.
Next week, can you give me a day? Are we talking Monday? Or we?
Maybe, as long.
Onesie twosie Bill Gates. That's all they're doing over there, just taking their sweet time, running through, getting what they want done in Arizona. And so the question is, what happens next? Kari Lake has come out. Here she is reacting to the verdict, explaining her take on the judge's ruling.
Entire country. And we went through the legal system, and we did not get the verdict that we wanted. Obviously, you all know that. We needed people with courage to act courageously, and we didn't get that. We proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that our elections are a mess. We've shown and we've proved with evidence that chain of custody wasn't followed. We've proven that signature verification is a joke, that it's not even being done, that it's not being done properly when it is being done. And we've proven that the good people of Arizona have been disenfranchised. When they showed up on election day to vote, and they had to wait in the heat for 4 hours, and their vote didn't count, it was spit out. Sometimes the ballots are thrown into garbage bags to be taken downtown and counted. We're the laughing stock of elections here in Arizona. And while that was not the verdict I hoped for, I truly did expect that. I was not shocked by that verdict yesterday, and it will not deter me, not at all. The system is corrupt from top to bottom. And the only way to get an honest system and to root out corruption is to identify it, see it, and lay it all out for everyone to see. And I think we've done a pretty good job at that. I believe that Arizonans now realize that their elections are a mess. This facade that they've been putting on of cameras and transparency, it's a joke. They want to call it a hiccup. It is like projectile vomiting. It's not a hiccup. What they're doing is so wrong to the people of this state, and I'm never going to stop fighting for the people of this state.
All right, so nice statement from Kari Lake explaining that this is bigger than just the trial. Expected to lose, and I think many other people did as well. I think we've all seen this coming. We knew that the standards were going to be very high to meet, and so the reaction is not anything to be unexpected. Now, she does tell us that there will, in fact, be an appeal, and she gets into it with the press a little bit. Here is that exchange.
It sounded at the beginning like you said we've had a good run.
Very low volume from this reporter.
There was no appeal, but then you talked about going to the Supreme Court. Is there going to be an appeal on this?
There is going to be an appeal. And I'm not prepared right now to tell you exactly what our path
appeal is coming,
because we're looking at several paths. Not one, not two, several. But you've not seen the last of our case, and Brahm's going to have to cover it again, and I'm sure he'll twist it and spin it. But you haven't seen the last of it because we have the best case. We have evidence, unlike these gaslighting people in the media who want to make you say, like, there's no evidence. I can't help it if they're not smart enough to dig through and look at the evidence. But we've got plenty of evidence, and we're going to continue to pursue it. And our legal team will continue to pursue it.
I guess my question is, I'm assuming you've read the judge's decision yesterday.
Yeah.
And I have too. He said some of the evidence you presented is legally irrelevant. The number of seconds it takes to review signatures, that it was your team that chose to pursue the course that said we were going to prove there was no signature verification. So it's not a question of not evidence. The question is, what relevant evidence do you have?
We have relevant evidence that 300,000 roughly ballots were approved in less than 3 seconds. It takes a full second for the ballot image to pop up on the screen. We had an incredible witness, or not a witness, I'm sorry, an expert, a world-renowned expert on this, who said it's impossible to do that. And we also found out, Howie, and I don't think this has been in any of your reporting, that there were an additional 99 people authorized to do voter signature verification behind closed doors in their office, at home, sitting in their underwear on their sofa. Stephen Richer and Bill Gates, who ran the election, and by the way, also ran a super PAC raising money to try to bring me down.
That's right, they did.
America First candidates who want to question corruption in our election. Those two get to approve signatures behind closed doors where no one can see it. That's not transparency, Howie. Do you think it's... That's one person, and as I said, the system is corrupt from top to bottom. That's one person. Do you, no, Howie, let me ask you a quick question. Do you think that just clicking like this, approve, 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 is signature verification? Do you think that?
Hit that like button while you're thinking about it right now. Like you work for Maricopa County.
I know what the judge said. I read it. I'm asking you, do you think you can approve a signature like that? I think the judge even knows you can't. The judge even knows you can't.
I think that perhaps that if you have two signatures that come up on the screen...
They don't come up, you have to scroll down.
No, you scroll down for additional signatures. That's
Yep.
the point.
It's not possible. It's not possible, Howie. And we are showing this. We're showing it, we're proving it. The whole world is seeing what they're doing. And guess what? If they're doing it in Maricopa County, there's a really good chance they're doing it in a county near you. And
in a county, in a state near you, if they have the roadmap, why don't they just execute it everywhere else? So Kari Lake comes out with another big announcement. She's saying, we're going to use all of this energy and we're going to create our own ballot operation to stop this from happening again in the future. Here's that conversation.
we have been working nonstop to put together a team. And we are officially launching the largest, most extensive ballot chasing operation in our state's history, and frankly, possibly in American history. The courts just ruled that this corrupt election will stand. The courts just ruled that our elections can run lawlessly. The courts have ruled that anything goes. Well, we can play by those same rules, okay? If anything goes, then anything goes. And we are going to start chasing ballots like you've never seen. And I've got an army of moms and dads and citizens behind me who are ready to chase ballots. Because if it's just a ballot that matters, then we can chase ballots too. And we're going to do that. We've got to work in this rigged, corrupt system, and we can do it. We will not allow them to steal another election from we the people. We want our government back. And right now, we have people sitting in these offices at our government who are not duly elected. So we have taken, and we've got millions of dollars committed. We have thousands of volunteers who are dedicated to this. We are better at doing everything, better than the left at doing everything. We know we have better candidates. They put forth people who can't even string 2 or 3 words together. They put forth people who aren't even healthy enough to hold office, who aren't mentally healthy enough to hold office, because they can't find good people who actually will push the garbage they're pushing on America. And they will, as we've seen, do anything possible to stop we the people from taking back our government. But we the people are going to stand up. We've been playing checkers, they've been playing chess, and we're going to start, we're going to show up to a knife fight with a gun, not a knife, okay? We are going to take our massive movement, and we're going to make sure that we employ every single person in it, volunteers, mothers, fathers, individuals, students, even the kids are involved, because it's their future that we're fighting for. And we are going to get out there and register voters. We're going to register every man, woman, child, dog, saguaro, Gila monster. Hey, if the left plays that way, maybe we should start playing that way.
Yes.
I'm being facetious. I'm sure that'll be your headline. But there are no rules where the left comes in. There's no rules at all. We are going to push the envelope. The courts have ruled that anything goes. If anything goes, then anything goes. And we're going to make sure that we push the envelope, the legal envelope, as far as we can push it. And at the same time, we are going to continue to fight our court case. We're not stopping here. We're not stopping with one judge in Mesa who's ruled against us time and time again. We're going to keep going. And we know that the people of this great state want me to stay in this fight. The people of this great country want us to stay in this fight. And we have proof of that. We know it. And the people who are sitting in these state offices, who took control of our government, they know they're frauds. They absolutely know they're frauds, and we all do.
All right, good stuff from Kari Lake. Obviously, a ton of energy, ton of momentum still behind Kari Lake and the movement here in Arizona. Arizona loves Kari Lake, it's obvious. And she says that we're going to reuse that, funnel all of that into a ballot operation, which I think is absolutely appropriate, and something that the Republicans have been lacking on. My question will be, will the Arizona GOP join her? Will the other Republican apparatchiks join in on this? Who knows? But a little bit of a spicy statement there, talking about if they bring a knife, we're going to bring a boom boom. And, you know, it's going to cause some ears to raise. But of course, she's just quoting somebody else who said that, somebody named Barack Obama, who said, if they bring a knife to the fight, we bring a boom boom stick. That was from Barack Obama, June 14th, 2008, which of course now is probably going to be relabeled as being violent, hateful rhetoric from Kari Lake, but in reality was just the rhetoric that the Democrats have been using for some time. Maybe somebody should raid Obama and investigate him and his insurrectionary language. But Kari Lake still full of energy and full of ideas, and I like the fact that they will be working hard in Arizona for the foreseeable future. We'll continue to cover it and support those efforts. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. We'll look forward to seeing you as we continue to cover Kari Lake. All right, my friends. Now, let's change gears a little bit and talk about what's going on with this case, because it's the case that may never end. E. Jean Carroll wants even more of that Trump money. She got $5 million for some reason, and now she wants more. Remember, she was suing Donald Trump for an alleged, now, I guess proven in a court, assault that took place in a Bergdorf Goodman's some time ago, back in the 90s, almost 30 years ago. And after the verdict came out, we all paid much attention to this case and walked through the trial and read through the tweet threads. We had an idea that the verdict was going to be adverse to Trump, and that might be the end of it. We know that they're going to appeal, but it doesn't stop there. Remember, Trump sat down with CNN at a town hall and had a conversation the day after the verdict was rendered, and he got asked about what he thought about the decision from the jury, and this is what Trump said.
Because what's happening is they're doing this for election interference. This woman, I don't know her. I never met her. I have no idea who she is. I had a picture taken years ago with her.
So pay close attention to that. He says, I never met her, but then I had a picture taken with her.
And her husband, nice guy, John Johnson. He was a newscaster, very nice man. She called him an ape. Happens to be African American. Called him an ape. The judge wouldn't allow us to put that in.
Very racist.
Her dog, or her cat, was named Vagina.
Vagina.
The judge wasn't allowed to put that in. All of these things, but with her, they can put in anything. Access Hollywood.
This was a jury of 9 people who found you liable of sexual abuse. Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think the whole thing, just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into other than for a couple of charities. I met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old, and this is like 22, 23 years ago. I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this great chemistry, and a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, right near the cash register. And then she found out there were locks on the door. So she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
Mr. President, can I...
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we listened to this the first time after we heard this, and it's a weird mismatch of tense and context, and Trump is telling stories and then telling a story from her perspective, and you can't really tell if he's talking about something that actually happened until you realize that he's talking about this hypothetical fictional story that she claims happened. It's a weird exchange, but he said some things about her, and as we were listening, we go, oh gosh, he's already got a defamation case against him. What is going to happen now? And of course, we take a look at the court docket, and what do you expect? Here it is. Look at this. All this stuff got filed. It's a lot. So here on May 22nd, the docket got 4 new additions to it. A letter to Judge Lewis Kaplan. Guess who that's from? Roberta Kaplan. That's E. Jean Carroll's a lawyer. We've got a motion to correct, along with a motion to amend, which is going to change the original complaint to add in new allegations, and as well as a memo about why this amendment should be allowed, and then a new amended complaint filed. All right, so they want to make it hurt even worse. And so let's take a look at how this all went down when Roberta Kaplan, she was sitting there on the stage. She's watching Donald Trump. E. Jean Carroll probably is too, because she liked him so much from his time on The Apprentice. And he starts talking about E. Jean, and they just start salivating. Oh, gosh. Roberta Kaplan is just very excited and says the following to the judge. Dear Judge, we write on behalf of our client, E. Jean Carroll. As your honor is aware, there are 4 things we need to deal with here. Several different motions. And we address each of these points below. Now, a lot of heavy lifting here. Says the Westfall Act implicates certain things, and says Trump is not entitled to immunity, and says just 4 days after the trial began, we had a 2-week trial. The jury determined that Trump had committed these crimes, or these civil infractions, battery and defamation. They awarded E. Jean Carroll $5 million in compensatory and punitive damages. Now, on their face, they're similar claims as in this case. Now, they're saying, Your Honor, we want to create an amended complaint. Why? We want to add in new allegations here concerning the verdict and Trump's public response to the verdict, the things he said at the town hall, which involved repeating on CNN the statements the Carroll jury found to be defamatory, allegations that we believe are now directly relevant to punitive damages. As outlined above, we propose the following schedule, and they send all of that in to the judge. Say we obviously disagree with both the defendant and the United States on various issues about different people intervening, signed on off by Roberta Kaplan. Now, here's the actual motion to amend in support of the law. They say the parties have already begun litigating this case all the way back in November 2019. They say Trump sought to delay this at every turn. But now, E. Jean Carroll moves to amend her complaint to add relevant facts bearing on that issue, as well as comments that came about from Trump's public statements at the town hall. Now, you can see there's some requests here And I was looking for the amended damages. And so let's actually see if we can find those in a different location, because they're not popping up on that document. But I do believe that I have them here. This is what the amended complaint would actually look like. And we're going to see what the damages are asked for. When we scroll down, here we go. This is where they're adding the amount. This is where they're adding the portion for Trump's statements at the town hall. Trump's defamatory lies did not stop in 2019. He made additional statements, October 2022, posting statements saying he didn't know her. And then in 2023, it continued. Here we go. This is the addition to the complaint. On May 9th, after a 2-week trial in the Southern District of New York, a 9-person jury found that Trump had abused Carroll and that his statement denying that assault was defamatory. $5 million and $3 million for the defamation. $2 million for the assault, $3 million for the defamation. And we made a lot of fun of this because Trump owes more money for talking badly about her than he does for assaulting her. Okay, $3 million for talking badly about her versus $2 million for just the assault, which means it's worse to talk badly about a woman, apparently, than it is to grab them by their purse. Strange time for, I think, women in America, but all right. But Trump, undeterred by the jury's verdict, persisted in maliciously defaming Carroll yet again. On the very next day, on May 10th, Trump lashed out against Carroll during a televised primetime audience town hall event hosted by CNN. He doubled down on his prior defamatory statements, asserting to an audience all too ready to cheer him on that I've never met this woman. I never saw this woman. Ugh, those statements. I never saw this woman. Well, you took a picture with her. So his lawyers, literally, Roberta Kaplan's lawyers, are taking that and splicing it up. That he did not assault Carroll and that her account, which was just validated by a jury, was fake and made up story, invented by a whack job, which is true. I think she is a whack job. Those statements resulted in enthusiastic cheers and applause from the audience on live TV. And so this is a whole new additional amended complaint. You can see as we fast forward through this monster whopper, what are they asking for? You see here all of these additional red lines are being added to the complaint. And we're looking for damages. Here you go. Now they want compensatory damages to be $10 million. So that statement was another $5 million statement at the town hall CNN. But sometimes the truth is expensive, my friends. And if you're a billionaire like Trump, you can afford it. Got to say the truth, man, even if it costs you $5 million. So that is what came in. Now, there was one extra spicy filing in this case that came in from this woman on May 9th, 2023. And as I was browsing around the docket, I just wanted to share this with you. I thought it was great. This woman named Margaret, okay, totally unrelated to this case, decided on her own volition to send a letter into the court to Judge Lewis Kaplan. Margaret, as we're going to learn, is an 87-year-old woman writing in from Brooklyn, New York, roughly about the same age as E. Jean Carroll. This came in after the verdict. They received it May 17th. She says, Honorable Judge Kaplan, I am writing this to you as I was once in the 90s an avid shopper in Bergdorf Goodman's Bloomingdale's, Lord & Taylor, and other high-end stores. At that time, if you went into any fitting room in any one of those stores, there was always a salesperson right outside the door, inquiring about the fit, etc. If you needed further help. I believe salespeople were working on commissions, and if they tried very hard to provide as much service as possible to get their commissions. If anyone was doing anything like E. Jean Carroll stated, that is a frivolous lie. There was also much more security in these stores at that time. And for the record, I am not a Trump advocate, but I am an 87-year-old woman, and these types of accusations are without a doubt lies and dishonest. I personally wrote this for your information, so when you listen to the fabrications from the plaintiff called E. Jean Carroll, you can have a better idea of what could and did occur in the fitting rooms in the 90s. Sincerely, Margaret. And so shout out to Margaret from the Bronx. No, from Brooklyn, New York. Letting the judge know the truth, man. It's a lot of work to sit there and type out a letter like that. And she signed it and sent it in. So cheers to Margaret. Cheers to Margaret for writing a heck of a letter and telling the truth to the judge. So, my friends, Donald Trump now faces another $5 million potential verdict, and we'll see what his team says in response as we continue to cover. All right. And so we've got one final story, and so let's just get right to it. Donald Trump and his media group now sue the Washington Post, and it's not a small lawsuit. They want $3.7 billion, which is a nice verdict. Would be very useful if they received it. Before we take a look at the complaint, let's get some backstory on exactly what happened here. This came over from a broken link. So let's take a look at the lawsuit. Here is what it says. In the complaint, it is Trump Media and Technology Group versus the Washington Post, the Bezos institution that shovels a ton of garbage news down our gullets. Filed in the state of Florida out of Sarasota County for libel and slander as the case type. Here is what we see. Donald Trump and the media group now seek compensatory and punitive damages in the sum of $3.78 billion, or a greater amount if the jury so determines. Here's why. They say Trump and the media group, also known as Truth Social, exists. And on May 13, 2023, the Washington Post, acting in concert with a former employee of TMTG, who was terminated for cause, published an egregious hit piece that falsely accused Trump media of securities fraud and other wrongdoing. WaPo's false criminal charges exposed the Trump organization to public ridicule, contempt, distrust, and they injured the reputation. Now, Trump's team says Washington Post has been on a years-long crusade against Trump and Truth Social, characterized by concealment of various information. Ironic for an organization whose motto is "Democracy dies in darkness." The WaPo's latest defamation creates an existential threat for Trump and the media group, causing enormous loss. And so the media group now brings this case to recover special damages. Trump is located in Delaware, so is Washington Post. WaPo has 2.5 million digital subscribers, 20 million follow him on Twitter. They're all over the place. They publish to millions. And here's what happened. On March 15, 2023, The Guardian published an article saying federal investigators examined Trump media for possible money laundering. The Guardian article contained false statements and defamatory implications, including that federal investigators had examined TMTG for money laundering and other things. They say that federal prosecutors involved in the criminal investigation into Trump examined whether it violated money laundering statutes and other things. But the source of the Guardian's story was a former employee called Will, who was terminated for cause. Previously, Wilkinson began to concoct and publicly shop false stories about Truth Social to the media. By May 2023, Wilkerson, same guy Will, had come up with yet another fake news story, and the Washington Post and others eagerly posted them. Through a series of meetings, the Washington Post took to meet with them, and they published another clickbait headline talking about being linked to problematic banks, seeking many statements about this. But they kept publishing the false and defamatory statements, saying the Truth Social saga just keeps getting weirder, saying that they were involved in a bank that does pornography and were taking mysterious loans out of Caribbean islands. People were posting this all over Mastodon. Harwell republished a post to 67,000 Mastodon followers, saying that Truth Social was borrowing money from an adult entertainment bank, saying they borrowed banks from these so basically they're broke. They need to go to porn banks in order to stay afloat. They had another clickbait headline: trust linked to porn-friendly bank could gain a stake in Trump's Truth Social. They're going to be bought up by pornographers. So Truth says, no, not so fast. The statements immediately conveyed a defamatory meaning to readers. The express meaning and the defamatory gist of the statements is that Truth Social committed securities fraud, or they did something bad and they were now having to align themselves with a problematic bank. To reinforce this, that TMTG engaged in securities fraud, they included the story of, quote, an investor who was injured after he spent $561,000 on a DWAC and lost his life savings, trying to smear Trump and Truth Social. These statements were republished millions of times. The statements are materially false. TMTG did not conceal or fail to disclose any information to anybody. TMTG never paid any finder's fee, never did that at all. No brokerage associated with them. Orlando didn't get any fees. The statements are knowing falsehoods. Truth Social did not improperly disclose anything. In fact, quite the opposite. Any reasonable juror can conclude that an elected official, if he searched for evidence to support baseless claims. But they had an agenda, saying WaPo statements were not published in good faith at all. The falsity of the statements is not due to an honest mistake of the facts. There are no reasonable grounds for believing the statements are true. Therefore, this is defamatory. You can see the first cause of action is defamation. By publishing those false statements, they committed defamation. And let's see if there's any other complaints here. Conspiracy, working together in a colluded effort to smear Trump and Truth. And wherefore, Truth Social and the Trump Media Group now ask for compensatory damages of $2.78 billion. And they also want punitives in the amount of $1 billion on top of it. And they want prejudgment interest as well as any other relief that the court deems to be appropriate. Signed by Jason Coble from Tampa, Florida, on behalf of Donald Trump. $3.7 billion would be a nice payday for True Social and the Trump Media Group. We'll see if there is any recourse against the Washington Post as they continue to spread their version of political news, their fake news, their narratives to support their party. They have many tools in their belt to go and wage this political warfare all across Twitter and their media conglomerates. Donald Trump fighting back. And so, my friends, that is it for us on the day. We covered some good ground today. Trump suing the Washington Post. E. Jean Carroll wants more money. If Trump wins that $3.7 billion, some of it can go to E. Jean Carroll, I suppose. And then he'll have a lot more money, and then he can say whatever he wants. He can just say it every day. 5 million, 5 million, 5 million, no problem. That's a lot of statements he can make. So we also talked about Kari Lake and the various things that are happening in her camp, including launching a ballot chasing operation and an appeal. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you and to see what you have to say about all of this from our friends on the interwebs. Who is here in the house? We had Debbie Marie. What's up, Debbie Marie? This came on over on Locals. Thank you, Debbie. Says, good evening. And good evening to you there, Debbie Marie. I appreciate you sending that one in. And we had another one from Mark Powers. Hey, welcome, Mark. And before that, we had this one from Deep Sea Miner. This one came in on YouTube, on Locals. Says, you said it, Rob. Throw all the ingredients in a pot, throw it in the oven, boom. It is done. Eat it. It doesn't include everything as stated and placed in the oven. Eat it. Raw, undercooked, partly prepared, looks awful. No quality control or assurance on prepared process. Why would anyone eat it? I would not. I guess anyone would be a world-class chef by using this process. Not. Yeah, talking about quality control versus quantity control. Just get it done. I don't care if it's done accurately, done right, if the signatures match at all. It just needs to be done. And so, good to see you, Deep Sea Miner. Thanks for sending that one in on the Locals. Hey, Mark Powers. Thank you, Mark, for sending this one in. No comment on that, but thank you, Mark. Very first super chat on our channel for Mark. Well, thanks for joining us, Mark. And thank you for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate you being here. This one, hey, Dolphin Fan. Dolphin Fan is the man. Brought in 5 new membos. Welcome to our new friends. Dustin coming on in. Johnny Boy, welcome. Ray J, welcome into the house. Sassy Tech and Tina C coming in to our YouTube membership. And hey, if you're on YouTube and you're a member on YouTube, scroll on over to the community tab and don't forget to grab the Telegram link, because that is where we finish with our after party and where we're going to be going here in a short minute or two. Also, says from Norman Smith, says truth is stranger than fiction. Great live stream, Rob. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you, Norman. Very nice comment from you. Yeah, truth is stranger than fiction. And I like that. That's a little, it's on point, because we were just talking about True Social. I see what you did there, and it's well done. Yeah, and I think that we're going to keep, the more and more people speak truth and call out the bureaucracy and all their incompetency, the more they're going to protect themselves against the challenges. And we're seeing that in full effect. And so thank you very much for sending that one in from Norman Smith. Appreciate that. And hey, Gigum sent this one in. Yes, it's a hard, Gigum sent this one in over on Locals. Says, does Rob deserve a super chat? Gigum says yes. So Gigum clipped this one out. Where did this one come from? I don't remember where that one came from. That's obviously a morning stream. Oh, where did that come from? Yes. I wonder what it was. Thank you, Gigum, for sending that one. I'm definitely going to save that one. Does Rob deserve a super chat? Gigum says yes. Thank you, Gigum, for making that one up for us. All right, got that one saved nice and safely in our folder. And so that, my friends, I believe is it for us. Let's say hello to Rumble. Yeah. So Rumble Catwoman says, Rob had a suit on this morning. It looked very nice. Well, thank you. Looked very sharp. Yeah. Thank you for that one. Yeah, you have to become a member to check it out, I suppose. See if that's true or not. Hey, Alan Harkin. What's up, Alan? Alan just sent this one in on Rumble. Says, excellent breakdown on the topics today. Topics that I pray will experience some form of positivity someday soon. It is hard to not get bogged down. You are high-spirited, so that helps. LOL. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and thank you for that. And thank you for that one also, yeah, from Donut Miami. Perfect, thank you. So this one came in from Alan Harkin. Says, excellent breakdown on the topics. Topics that I pray will experience some form of positivity. Hard to not get bogged down. You are high-spirited, so that helps. Well, look, man, Alan, I appreciate you being here, and thank you for the great super chat. You know, you guys keep my spirits up. You know, it's a lot of fun to come here and talk through these stories with you and to decompress from the daily news. So it's fun to have fun with you. It's fun to learn about these things with you. I really do learn a lot from our community, from our locals, from the chat, from these daily conversations. And so sometimes these things can be a little bit heavy, but we are going to continue to have fun because we are on the right side of history. And these people are all, I mean, just, you know, how can you not laugh at them, honestly? Just look at them. Like, just look at them. Like, just, I don't know. Go to one of their events. Go to one of their rallies. If you're ever in a bad mood and you're wondering if these people are going to take over at some point, just look at the next generation of people who are incoming. All right. Like, fast forward 20 years, all the people who are 20 right now are going to be 40. They're going to be running things. And so just look at some event right now and just look at them. Okay. It's going to be total incompetence and all of their structures are going to fail. And it's just going to be a total disaster, which is, you know, not good. If you're on that boat, it's not a good thing, but the idea is to not be on that boat and you'll be fine. Let their boats all, you know, have a difficult time looping down the drains, and the rest of us will have our own sovereignty and our own freedom. So it's going to work out, and we just have to keep laughing at these people. What else can you do? They're just total incompetent dorks. All right. And so that, my friends, thank you, Alan, for that one. And Riley, thank you for this one, Riley, says, Rob, I can feel that big, beautiful spotlight in Utah. Awesome, Riley. Good to see you, man. You're right up there. You're right up north of us. Hopefully you're having a beautiful time up there in Utah. Weather's probably a little bit better up there. A little cooler. It's still fine here in Arizona, but it's about to warm up over there. But shout out to our friends in Utah. And thank you, Riley, for that. And so that, my friends, I think is about it for the day. So a little bit of a shorter show. Of course, we are sticking around for the after party where we'll hang out for a little bit. And so we'd love to see you there. Come check us out, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We do Saturday shows. We do morning member-only shows. And so if you're looking for a little bit extra more content and a great way to connect with people and get to know people, watchingthewatchers.locals.com is a place to do that. You can also join up on YouTube, click that join button, and you can get access to the private Telegram group, which is where the after parties take place. So come and join us if you are on YouTube. Also, don't forget to get your Field of Greens. Now, this stuff is good, and I'm telling you, if you're on the fence about it, just go to the website and just look at it. Just go and look at the ingredients on the back of Field of Greens. You'll see it. It's all fruits and vegetables. Like, I'm not joking. It's all fruits and vegetables. Metabolic blend, cranberries, blueberries. It's not like broccoli, okay, although I happen to like broccoli. But it's other good stuff. It tastes good. It goes down easy, and it's fieldofgreens.com. Save 15% with code Robert. Also, if you would like to grab the Mindmap software that I use for all sorts of stuff, it tastes good. Field of Greens tastes good. It tastes good. It doesn't taste like a bag of roots. All right. I tried a green product one time ago, and it tasted like, I don't know, somebody took a chunk of grass and blended it up, you know? It doesn't taste like that. It tastes good, which is why I'm saying, if you look at the ingredients here, it's like good fruits and vegetables, okay? Like the good stuff that tastes good too. Cranberries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, okay? That's all in the antioxidant blend. You got to get your antioxidants. Nobody wants to be oxidized, okay? You want to be oxidized? No, we're not trying to be oxidized. get your antioxidants in your antioxidant blend, lest you become oxidized, my friends. I don't want to see you guys here when you're oxidized. This shows a whole different level if we're all oxidized. So don't be oxidized. Get your antioxidants. Also, want to thank our friends, our mods, and our meme smiths. Who do we have to thank? Vientikis Prime, along with our friend K-Bean, Just Cause in the house, Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zulu, Geomancy. I'm sorry, it's beyond Geostars now. Corrected the record. Along with Zach Nichols, John Allen, Janek 909. We've got Dog Digger in the house, along with Donut Mind Me, our friend Sleepy Dog Lee, and Jigum Gigum. And Nathan N810, who's going to be added to the board very shortly. And so that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, and we would love to see you over there. Click on over and join us. But if not, I would still like to see you right back here tomorrow to do this all again, because it's going to be another full day in the news, and we're going to have to attend to it. And so I hope to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. One final comment from Steel Stargazer. Have you noticed any significant value taking that product? Do you feel better? Yes, I'd say I feel better. I mean, let me put it this way. When I am on my routines, I feel better. When I'm off my routines, I feel worse. So I take several supplements. Field of Greens is just one of them. And I feel better when I take it consistently. Let me just say that. And I don't know that I could, I guess here's the point, is I don't know that I could single it out, because when I typically don't take my supplements, I kind of don't take all my supplements. I also get off my protein. I also get off my other things. And it's not ideal because you're off keister. And then I get back on keister and I feel better about it. So I feel better taking it personally. And I recommend it. Look, especially if your diet's not all that great, as mine can often not be. I try to eat healthy, but I also will, go over heavy on the carbs and not too heavy on the vegetables. And so I think supplements are good. I really do. In fact, I have another one right here. This is another one that I've read about a lot. This is not from Field of Greens, but it's 5-HTP. Okay, this is another one that was recommended from somebody on this audience. Nathan, shout out to Nathan. And I used to take that a long time ago, and it's something else that I like to work with. So I think it's important to. That's just a regular old supplement you can get on Amazon. 5-HTP. It's supposed to help with mood and thinking. So I guess my point is, I'm constantly trying to figure out for myself what are the appropriate recipes for my body and for my mind and for my spirit and for my soul and for my physical well-being. And I'm constantly playing with those knobs. And I can tell you this, when I am off my supplements, when I'm not as strict, when I miss my greens, when I miss my protein, when I miss my things, I don't feel as good. I feel much better when I'm on them all. So that's just one take on it. Be healthy, my friends. And it will actually, I think it will help. And if you don't like it, don't keep taking it. If you don't feel anything from it, you're not feeling better, don't have to take it. But if you're not, I'll tell you this, I am not getting every day all of this stuff in this ingredient pack unless I'm taking that. So that's why I try to take it. All right. Yeah. A job well done. Is whose knobs is Rob playing with? I guess my own knobs. I mean, if we want to go there. Don't touch other people's knobs without permission. All right, and that's over on Rumble. And so, my friends, okay, thank you for the final question. That came in from Steel Stargazer. Hopefully that was kind of a, useful answer. But that, my friends, is where we will leave it on the day. And so I hope you have yourselves a beautiful, very restful evening. Another good thing to take at night is magnesium. That's another one I take. It's upstairs. It's magnesium. It'll help you rest when you go to sleep. And I like it after the show. In fact, I'll put some magnesium also in my sparkling water. And it's kind of this little frothy, delicious drink that tastes good too. And it helps to kind of calm you down a little bit. So it's another good supplement too, if you're thinking about it. Anyways, my friends, that is it for the day. And I hope to see you right back here tomorrow so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.